That's all right if Republican and Democrats join together to do what is right. If somebody wants to make a motion against me, bring it. There has to be an adult in the room.
Are you going to move to oust him?
Kevin McCarthy's going to get his wish. I don't think the adult in the room would lie to House conservatives, and that is exactly what Kevin McCarthy did. If at this time next week, Kevin McCarthy is still Speaker of the House, it will be because the Democrats bailed him out, and he can be their Speaker, not mine.
So when do you make this move?
You'll be seeing it this week.
Do you really think that Democrats are going to vote to remove Kevin McCarthy because he made a deal with Democrats?
No. I actually think Democrats are going to bail out Kevin McCarthy. So this is an exercise to show the American people who really governs you and how that governing occurs.
What? Okay, so first we saw Kevin McCarthy basically say, bring it. We all know who he's talking about. He's talking about Matt Gaetz. And Matt Gaetz saying, oh, I'm gonna make sure that Kevin McCarthy is not speaker single-handedly, which actually, by the way, it only does take a single vote to trigger a vote to try and remove Kevin McCarthy, which I believe, Ray, wasn't this part of the entire process for getting him elected in the first place? Was like, okay, we'll be speaker, but if any one of us wakes up on the wrong side of the bed and or wants an ethics investigation dropped against us, Matt Gaetz, we're going to trigger a vote of no confidence and we'll do this whole thing all over again.
Yeah, it was something they've been threatening since before Kevin McCarthy even won to be the speaker. But I'll say Matt Gaetz has been a bit of a coward. He left the motion to vacate, I believe it's called, the form for it in the bathroom so that Kevin McCarthy would find it. But he hasn't done it yet. And like, when, if not now, then when, Matt Gaetz? You've been, playing and toying with this idea for months now, and you've never done it, and despite publicly criticizing Kevin McCarthy every single day in the news. So yeah, do it. Just stop being a coward. Do it if you're going to do it.
Motion to vacate, and indeed, and he's again, McCarthy does. I mean, Gaetz doesn't know what he wants. Everyone thinks he's a pariah and obnoxious. But I will say the one thing that Gaetz said was that Democrats would bail McCarthy out. I'm not so sure. In fact, AOC this weekend said something to the effect of, I mean, Kevin McCarthy's a terrible leader. Now, the question is, do they have anyone better down the line? No, probably not. But don't be so quick to think that all Democrats believe that Kevin McCarthy should lead the House. But here's McCarthy, his full remarks responding to Matt Gaetz.
He says he's coming for you. Can you survive?
Yes, I'll survive. This is personal with Matt. Matt voted against the most conservative ability to protect our border, secure our border. He's more interested in securing TV interviews than doing something. He wanted to push us into a shutdown, even threatening his own district with all the military people there who would not be paid, only because he wants to take this motion. So be it, bring it on, let's get over with it, and let's start governing. If he's upset because he tried to push us in a shutdown and I made sure government didn't shut down, then let's have that fight.
Well, you didn't really make sure that. I mean, like, Democrats helped you. And we'll get into exactly how they helped, because this new resolution was floated in the early morning on Saturday, and there was an hour to review the text of it. Democrats did a few things to delay and a few things to not delay, but were imagine that they were done to delay it. But look, Matt Gaetz is not totally alone. Kevin McCarthy also faces challenges from, far right extremists in his party, the extremists of the extremists, of course, like Andy Biggs of January 6 fame, saying instead of siding with his own party today, Kevin McCarthy sided with 209 Democrats to push through a continuing resolution that maintains the Biden, Pelosi, Schumer spending levels and policies. He allowed the DC Uniparty, what? Is that a new line? To win again, should he remain Speaker of the House? So, Rayyvana, we've avoided a shutdown, but we may be thrust into another circus, into another motion to vacate. And then who? Who do they have? Who else is there that is actually that people are going to rally around? It's just, and also, what are their demands at this point? Are they actually going to try and make Lloyd Austin's salary $1?
I think it's really interesting because you raise a good point. I don't think either that the Democrats will coalesce to support McCarthy in his speakership. And I think that McCarthy has been the beneficiary of some relatively good press in being able to rewrite his history. I mean, this is a guy who voted against certifying election results in Arizona, right? This is a guy who literally attempted to overthrow democracy in our country. He is far right. He is a far right member of the Republican Party to the extent that there's even the existence of a moderate Republican, but he is part of the far right of the party. But he's been able to sort of recast himself as a more sensible person because of the extreme elements of the party, Marjorie Taylor Greene and Matt Gaetz. And I think that the Republicans are severely overplaying their hands here because right now, most Americans blame the Republicans more than they blame the Democrats for what's going on. If for what was an impending shutdown, the public, even Republicans themselves, blamed Republicans more than they blamed Democrats. Most people's opinion is just, oh, everyone in Congress sucks. It's everybody's fault. But they weren't winning any favors. Matt Gaetz went on TV and said that he has 10,000, TSA workers or, federal workers who would be forced to work without pay in his district. But that was a sacrifice he was willing to make on their behalf. I mean, it's absurd to me that they just don't seem to recognize that all they're doing in this power play is harming their electoral chances because we have coming up, everyone in the House is up for re-election as they are every 2 years. And they have a very narrow margin, of a lead in the House. And there's some really tough purple districts that they have to contend with. And every time Kevin McCarthy capitulates to the Matt Gaetzes, those districts go more and more blue.
Yeah. I think that's a really good point. I think it's important to remember that individually, the moderate wing is just kind of BS. There is no moderate wing of the Republican Party. However, there are more purple districts and they do feel under threat by their own constituents and their voters. So if they're doing anything, if anyone's holding them accountable, it is their voters. And so that's something to, work with, to capitalize on for Democrats in those districts.
For more political news, breakdowns, interviews, stories of activism, and me trying my hardest to care about the occasional big celebrity news story, subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/The Damage Report. And you can ring the bell wherever it is so you don't miss anything.